Hola, G&Gs. I'm Trekk with 2Ks, and this is Weekend Crypto, brought to you here on the Gentlemen of Crypto. If you don't know, the basic idea is I covered the crypto events that happened between the Friday and the Sunday, and then I recap it for you on Monday, because that's when this plays out. All right, so I'm going to just jump into these stories right here. And the first one we're going to jump into is something that happened in upstate New York in Niagara Falls. And the residents, basically what happened, there's a mining facility up there, and you have two companies that are working this scenario, or three companies really. It's the power plant itself. It's another company called, where are we at? BitFusion USA, which is a New York City based company. And then you have the NASDAQ listed Bit Digital, which is the company that put the money together for the hardware, while BitFusion actually does the maintenance and does all of the actual operations and the day-to-day stuff. Bottom line was that there was an issue that, at least this is what BitFusion is saying, that there was an issue with the way that the power plant and having faulty equipment on their side. It wasn't their mismanagement. It wasn't the hardware. It was something on the power plant side. And they're going to end up going through the insurance company and fighting to say, hey, you guys need to make us whole because we lost money because we had to turn off our miners. The way this story is covered is interesting to me, right? You have the mayor of Niagara Falls who's like, well, now we got to put a moratorium in, and we got to, worry about the zoning and the safety of the people who are in residential areas. And so, yeah, that makes sense. I'm just kind of surprised y'all kind of didn't think of that beforehand. And then reading, one example of someone who was telling, like, a matter of fact, here's the line right here. What's the name? Teresa Chappelle, who lives about 1/3 of a mile away, said she not only heard, but felt the explosion inside of her home. Now, when I was on my first deployment, we were like on the southern side of Post, right? And about, let's say 2 or less than 2 miles out was the EOD. And they would do their ordnance explosion stuff for things that they found outside the wire. I can tell you, if you were 1/3, if you were in half of a mile and an explosion happens, you see the smoke and you feel the vibrations, it's not a little explosion. It's not. But sorry. What got me about this was the way that they then try to talk it down, like, oh, it wasn't nothing big. And this is on the side of the company. It wasn't anything big because we didn't call the fire department, but the fire department did show up to investigate. We didn't call the cops and no law enforcement was involved. In my understanding of how electrical fires work, and if you have something where there's a big enough explosion, you would think people would come to go see what this is about. Apparently, law enforcement didn't do it, or at least somehow or another, they got dissuaded to not show up, but the fire department did. I'm going to give the highlight of this story in particular for me, is that now that there is a moratorium specifically for Niagara Falls, this basically means this company is twofold able to, what's the word? Not monopolize. Yeah, monopolize the market for mining. Because now, because of the state, no other mining companies couldn't come into the state. And then now, because of this city, no other mining companies or other kind of setups can come into the city, which puts them directly in the cheapest form of power. So I guess kudos to them, because that's how this kind of reads to me, at least. Anywho, I'm gonna jump on to this next story. Pizza Day. Yes, if you don't know, it is May 22nd. This is the, what I'm gonna argue, this is like the cult classic now within the crypto community. Like, this is a thing for us. This is a part of the lore. This is a part of the, like, man, who spent $10,000 on Bitcoin? I mean, on pizza back in 2010, like, that dude must be an idiot. At the time, no one thought that. We didn't think this would be as far as it is now. Nonetheless, it did happen. But let me get into what's going on here. The Pizza DAO, which is a group of folks that came together, what is that, in 2021? So this is during the whole C19 period when this particular DAO came up. And it's a number of people who are actually, like, supportive of this and backing it. And I'm gonna just go through some of these highlights here. The Pizza DAO is sponsoring more than 100 local pizzerias from 75 countries to give away free pizzas to celebrate Bitcoin Pizza Day on May 22nd. By the time y'all see this, it's gonna be the 23rd. So Bitcoin Pizza Day is gonna be over, but it doesn't mean you can't prepare for next year when it does go down again, right? And hopefully Pizza DAO and this project will still be around doing what they do. Excuse me. And so they do have some big names behind it as far as like Cheech and Chong, Seth Green, Steve Aoki, and apparently the person who is the 13th time world pizza champion, Tony. I'm not even gonna mess up your name, bro. I just know that you are the 13th time world pizza champion. I'm gonna leave it there for you. So jumping into this next thing, and I'm gonna just tell you about the Pizza DAO themselves. Established in February 2021, the idea of the Pizza DAO should be free and accessible, free pizza and accessible to all. I mean, the way they're describing it is more gimmicky. I'll actually read the quote that comes from Snacks, the founder of the Pizza DAO. We want to change the world by using blockchain to enable community ownership of small businesses. So arguably, Pizza DAO is more of a proof of model concept that's going on right now. It just so happens that pizza, one of the more Western or American common foods, is an easier way to like kind of connect it to people. I would put it in that frame. Might be wrong, but that's how I'm putting it. And so, what is it? Just like Bitcoin introduced a societal shift in the way humans collaborate, trade, and prove ownership, a Pizza DAO aims to empower small businesses to grow by bringing pizzerias on chain, raising funds to give pizza away for free, and building strong locally focused communities around the world. Again, the business type is pizza, but what she's saying conceptually works in any business. And we'll see if it happens. Nonetheless, this was about Pizza Day. This was one of the things that happened on this Sunday. Hopefully, if you were paying attention, you did enjoy some pizza. And if not, it's okay. There's always next year to be a part of this whole thing too. Again, like I said, this is developing definitely into one of the stronger parts of the community lore, right? And there's other things too that we have, like Not Your Keys, Not Your Cheese, which is the Genesis Block Day. That's the 3rd in January. And I think other things will come up over the years, definitely before the end of this decade, but this is definitely one of the more notable ones besides like Genesis Day. Other than that, I'm gonna jump into this next story. And so this one kind of caught me because I forgot what I was doing and I seen it like in my feed on Twitter. And I was like, hold on, wait, what? We introducing new bills? If you haven't been paying attention to how we talk about this stuff, let me cut in close. If you haven't been paying attention to how we talk about this regulatory stuff or like the news events that happen from whether they be the government side or public or private companies, it's something about the weekend when they like dropping stuff either on a Friday or over a holiday period. And so here we have it that, what's this dude's name again? Florida Republican Donald introduces Financial Freedom Act companion bill in the House. The Republican congressman is supporting Senator Tommy Tuberville. Wow, what a name. Tuberville's Senate bill and financial services company that want to include crypto in their 401k product offering. Now, this is arguably yay for mass adoption, right? Because why? Now, like the government is doing something that is looking to introduce Bitcoin into 401ks, which means that traditional companies will have to then bring that into offering, right? So now then companies have to find a way to get it into their books or into their system, which means what? They're gonna have to go out to the market or find partnerships with the different companies that are already here, right? So yay in adoption. But I'm not even gonna get into the but just yet. Republican Brian Donalds, a Florida Republican, introduced a Financial Freedom Act into the United States House of Representatives on Friday to prevent the U.S. Department of Labor from limiting the types of investments that can be included in American self-directed 401k retirement plan. This bill is a companion to Alabama Senators Tommy Tuberville's May 5th Senate bill. I need y'all to also put this in context and understand. You got somebody else telling you that you didn't vote for them. This is the Department of Labor that's saying, hey, we can't let the people who working to earn their own money and they doing the work invest the money into things that they want to put the money into. This is what he's basically put this bill into the motions for, to counter what the Department of Labor was doing. Remember, you don't vote for the Department of Labor. You did, if you're in Florida, vote for the dude Donald, right? Sorry. So the DOL reports elicited a response. Oh, this is also interesting too. The DOL, Department of Labor report elicited a response from financial services giant Fidelity Investment, objecting to what they saw as unclear language and positioned that strayed from the intent of the law that created the 401k program. It requested a DOL clarify the report or withdraw it. 2 weeks later, Fidelity joined a number of similar financial services firms offering Bitcoin to their 401k holders. Mind you, you could already do this before Fidelity decided to jump on the bandwagon and make sure they got their cut. Mind you, you could already do this before DOL, Department of Labor, decided to say anything about self-directed 401ks. Like, there were already companies in the space allowing you to do this for yourself. I'm gonna argue that, and I'm not gonna lie, I was actually surprised when I found out that this was a Black dude who came up with this. So, I mean, one, on the Republican side of it, and two, that it was a Black dude. I'm just kind of surprised, but I'm not knocking him or anything. I'm not knocking the Republicans. And if you're in Florida, I guess Florida is arguably, compared to X amount of the other states, they're really actually pushing for adoption. Granted, I think the devil's in the details part of what is more worrisome to me. I should say it that way. What's more worrisome to me is the devil in the details of how this could then turn into things about KYC and like you having to deal with the platform or the organization doing the custody of the cryptocurrencies. But nonetheless, Florida's moving in a more positive direction, arguably, than X number of other states. And so I'm gonna jump into this one. Next story being, let me get close real quick. So G7, if you don't know, that's like the big hoo-ha-has and the bigger economic powers, political and economic powers, that they got together and they had this meeting here, right? And so they're basically like, hey, we see what's going on with this crypto thing, but we think this cryptocurrency, which, remember, my standpoint is, you got to understand, like, it's a technology thing. The technology has a use case that works for the monetary side of it. It can also work for other things. But in this particular piece, they're focusing on is cryptocurrencies as the money thing, as a use case. So we'll jump into the highlights, right? Finance minister and central bank governors from the G7 met last week to discuss global economic conditions, including cryptocurrency. The committee was joined by heads of the International Monetary Fund, World Bank Group, Organizations for Economic Cooperation and Development, the Financial Stability Board, and some which have been anti-crypto in their stance. Okay, so basically these are like the big hoo-ha-has organizations that do on the shoulder taps on the global scale. Hey, your country's about to do something that we don't agree with because it's going to mess up the money flow how we want it to be. Hey, your business is too big and you're going to do this thing. You're going to mess up the money flow. Nah, we don't want you to do that, boss. That's these folks right here. And so, what am I jumping into? The basic idea was that this article covers in the highlights, so to say, of what they were griping about. The primary issue is the volatility, and they don't have a way to influence the market or control the flow of the market. That's their biggest issue here. They can't control the flow of the market. And so they also talk about CBDCs, as you can see here, which says CBDCs with cross-border functionality may have the potential to spur innovation and open up new ways to meet users' demand for more efficient international payments. Here's the bullshit of that line. They're telling you, we're just gonna make another fancier ledger that no one else can look at unless we give you the ability or the access to look at it. No one else is gonna be able to audit us, and then we can still do shady things, but we're gonna tell you it's for the betterment of the everyday people, which we kind of already see how the track record works for stuff like that. But at the end of the day, there's going to be some iteration of CBDCs, what I call the blue dogs, in the financial structure on the global scale, on the government, like local, regional scale. It's going to be some version. How well it works, how long it lasts, I don't know that part of it. But for all the talk that has been going on over the last, 3 to 4 years, at this point we get CBDCs will somehow, some way be pushed out to the masses. What is it actually going to look like when it hits the ground and we have to interact and deal with it? I don't know, y'all. I don't know. What was the last thing? Yeah, I'm gonna just leave it on that one. They didn't really say anything like new. It was literally just, hey, we can't influence the market the way that we want to. And so we need to come up with these other things, other financial instruments, other controls. Again, I've been telling y'all, it's a thing going on with the capital flight controls. It's happening at various levels across the globe. So, sorry. Jumping into this, let me just push this down here. There we go. So, what's her name? Lagarde says crypto is worth nothing and should be regulated. So here you have someone who sits on as the head of an organization that has a global influence. And if you, depending on how you're looking at this, arguably has not done the best job of helping the everyday people in the global context, because we still have poverty, we still have war, we still have poor people, we still have rich folks taking advantage of, second and third tier countries and people of lower economic or political status. So, yeah, but nonetheless, I don't want to beat the horse on that one. Bottom line is, there was something that happened where she was in an interview and someone said, hey, what are your thoughts on this? And so it came out over this weekend. European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde says cryptocurrencies are based on nothing and should be regulated to steer people away from speculating on them with their life savings. Now, I mean, I don't, you know what, let me not even say it that way, because I don't know what's going on in people's lives and I'm not pocket watching other folks. I will say this, with the markets being what they are right now, and that the speculative nature and the whole trading thing is what is being heavily promoted in cryptocurrencies. It's not the technology, it's the use case of being able to make fast money, right? With that being the thing that's majority being talked about and pushed in people's faces, I can understand why she would say this, but I also understand she doesn't want people to then, once they figure out like, oh, there's another thing outside of the system that the authority has told me is the only way I should be able to operate, that's where the issue runs in. So I would argue this is X amount of FUD being pushed out over the weekend. It seems like there was a fair amount of FUD that got pushed out this weekend, aside from what's going on with the whole Terra Luna situation, right? Like everyone was covering something related to Terra Luna. But other than that, it was X amount of FUD stuff being pushed out. So let me jump into this last couple of highlights here. And Lagarde says she's skeptical of cryptocurrency's value, contrasting it with the ECB's digital euro, a project that may come to fruition in the next 4 years. Dog, they're literally just making a fancy ledger in the same, and using the same traditional regulations and policy of practice or practice of policies, whatever. And then they're telling you like, oh, this is going to take us 4 years to put out. Blockchain and crypto is here right now. What do you think? Like, and the technology is not standing still. So by the time they get something out, how far ahead do you think blockchain and the adoption and people figuring out other new innovative ways to use the technology, how far do you think that would be, even in 2 years? But 4 years? That's ridiculous. So last thing she says, my very humble assessment is that it's worth nothing. This is based on nothing. There's no underlying asset to act as an anchor anchor of safety. Now, here's the funny thing about that. Like when I read this, I was thinking about it. And when we talk about how money, how currency has nothing underlying it or pegged to it that you can say, okay, that thing we know is there. This is a underlying asset of value. And what I realize now is that there's this shifting in argument of mindset that work and energy, or energy and effort, and funny enough, I'm like actually kind of going with the whole Michael Saylor thing of the human equity of energy and work, or at least the idea of putting energy into a system and then that be the value. This argument is actually against valuing you putting your energy and effort or doing something that works to add energy and effort into a system to build it out and secure it. She's actually arguing against that because she's telling you to look for something with more value that is digital, that they can just print up by hitting an enter button anytime they want to. That's literally how the USD works right now. That's how the euro works right now, where there's nothing backing it besides guns and military, right? So arguably whoever has the bigger military, but is that the same thing as actually putting in the energy and effort of proof of work? Arguably no, but I don't want to run too far down the rabbit hole. I'm getting heavy. It's a Monday. I know we got to get into the week, right? So let me just leave it there. You see what the websites are that I'm looking at. You can definitely follow up and deep dive on these things on your own. Excuse me. You see what the headlines are too, so you can jump into these at your own leisure. And so, what is it? Last two. So Congress introduces record number of bills. This caught my attention because I didn't actually realize how many bills got put into Congress. What is this? Over the last, actually it doesn't give a whole, but all right, actually, 2022. But anywho, US Congress has introduced over 80 new bills for consideration related to the cryptocurrency industry so far, of which several have passed. Former US regulator of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, Jason, Brett, has released an article outlining over 50 different digital asset bills introduced to Congress that impact crypto regulation, blockchain, and CBDC policy. I'm going to say I would highly recommend, if you are doing business, if you're doing something that's like major level money move, if you're trying to be in the US or move into other jurisdictions, you might want to read that actual article. Where is it at? Damn, where's the highlight at? Sorry. I'm gonna say, I'm not telling you what to do. I know I'm gonna end up reading the article just to get a little bit more in-depth and clarity on what's going on. But you're talking about 80 bills, several of them already made it in. They talk about 2 of them in this article. The point being is that there is a lot of action happening in the halls of Congress, whether you talk, and there's a lot of action too happening at state levels, there's action happening at city levels. So as I've said a number of times, this regulatory thing that we see happening is moving across the board. It's globally, it's at federal level, it's at state level, it's at city level. You might be your boroughs, it might be your province, whichever one that is, your county. There's activity happening. Now, you might want to take interest if you're looking to move to a new city or a state and you're going to do something that's related to this blockchain crypto industry. You might want to look at what's going on with their regulatory practices or their policies that they're looking to implement down the road, or if you could actually influence what the policy or the regulation is. Just saying, this stuff is happening, right? That's what I'm saying. And so again, like they're jumping into stuff with CBDCs. Another highlighted section here, in addition to Congressman Tom Emmer previously introduced safe harbor for taxpayers with Forked Assets Act of 2021, which is HR 3273, to protect investors who have received assets from forked chains. The HR 327 bill would cover any new coins issued to the proposed fork of the Terra Luna blockchain, currently going through governance. Perfect example of how when there's major crazy shifts, arguably some regulators are kind of fast to, take action without understanding the full scope of what's going on here. Because I imagine that Congressman Emmer has no real clue on the tech side of like what the issue was. Plus, there's things going on with new information coming out now about some of the activities of Do Kwon proceeding up to the depegging, namely closing down some offices and business things, right? The point being is that regulation is happening, y'all. And depending on where you are, you might be able to influence this if you start actually paying attention to what's going on locally at your city level, your county level, your state level. If you're bigger up in regards to like your business is a sizable business, you might want to start looking at things at the federal level. But arguably, city always impacts you first before federal. Anywho, not gonna look to beat the horse. Closing out a couple of things to say. One, thanks to the folks who are tapping in on the Weekend Crypto. I appreciate. Much thanks to the folks who leave the comments. Much thanks to the folks who give a thumbs up. I will also say I appreciate the scammers, the folks who are doing that whole we'll say hack in the comment posting section. I also appreciate the thumbs down, folks. Why? Because you basically are telling the algos, hey, there's some activity happening here, especially when you keep coming back and doing it. The algos see that you keep coming back. Just saying. Last thing I want to say, I appreciate the trolls. I know y'all don't leave comments. I know y'all don't hit the thumbs up or the thumbs down, but hey, the viewer numbers work out for what they do. So I know y'all are there. I appreciate y'all too. And if you don't know, Gentlemen of Crypto comes on Monday through Friday. We got a whole lineup. Like I make the joke with L about this being like crypto death row, because we got somebody that covers like everything. You want to be a DJ and be in the whole, DeFi part of the space, we got folks covering that. You want to learn some of the basics and like from how to stack your stats, that's the Jump Out Girls. You want to learn what's going on in the Caribbean, that's L. You want to learn about some hot plays going on, oh God, what's his name? I can't remember his name right now, but you got to check out the lineup, yo. You got to check out the site on YouTube and you'll see all of what we got going on. Somebody's covering everything, okay? From the law side of it, with the crypto lawyer, all the way over to Reggie having his conversations on stuff with Marlon. We got somebody covering everything. And I got you on the weekend to recap it on Monday. So I'm gonna leave it there, not beat this horse anymore. I ran kind of long. By the way, closing it out with, I am Trekk with 2Ks. This is Weekend Crypto. This is the Gentlemen of Crypto's channel. And yo, just come back for more. Other than that, I hope y'all have a good week. One.